Just a minute, please. Just a minute. Hold on. Leave this up by that time. I'll be back. That started, sorry. My wrist was broken. It was interfered. It was broken. Last one was broken. So it's now, I see, just to continue now. This was broken. What to do? I can't help it. It's beyond my control to control this. How can I control when something happens like this? Signals problem all time. I can't continue like this, It happens, unfortunate. So we can say checklist of this item, RCC pedestal footings. This is for steel frame works, and I did it. Ensure setting out on blinding is okay. That's very common. We have to make sure always that blinding is okay. There is no second thought on that. Blinding is very important. I didn't go. It's very beginning. It's very small item. Reinforcement in form cage. When we do pedestals or we do foundations for something, machine foundation or small footings or columns tensions, we can. It's prefabricated steel case, steel reinforcement cage is lifted and put on location. Concrete covers are provided to meet requirement, and void or pocket for bolts provision is provided within top of cage. It depends, you are going to put your bolt plate here in situ, or you just leave pockets or voids for bolts to come in. Then this pocket plug is fabricated correct to truncated dimensions for bolts. If you are going to put anchor bolt plate needs to be provided, blockout shall not be required in that case. Blockouts will be grouted later on once your columns are placed in. Columns, not only columns, framing of columns in fact. Alone column is not done practically. Whole framework is hung after fabrication and then bolting, and when alignment is over, it's snug tight. Have formwork corrected to required dimensions. All sides have it be well secured and supported. Have rebar cage placed in. Ensure pocket blockout placed by approved supports so to hang within pad volume. Check grids and grid measurements and check dimensions of forms. Check top of concrete levels, fixed arrangements, etc. Now we're going to talk about RCC footings blocks for steel frames works, for footings of long span steel frames. In plan, it is rectangular shape with considerable depth block. Ensure reinforcement and same here. Fabricated all directions, and concrete covers are provided to meet requirements, voids, pockets, etc. You can say has only differences that ensure, if you see, ensure dowels for beams if so required means are fixed the beams, and then ensure pocket blockout placed by approved supports to hang within pad volume. Grids and grid measurements you have to check, dimensions of forms you have to check, alignment of plumb you have to check, alignment of plumb and supports of forms. Then we'll check top concrete levels, fixing arrangement, and if required demanded grade beam can also be provided monolithic, which is better, otherwise do it separately. The item is list for RCC for generator, DC generator, direct current generator, and alternator foundation work. It's a big one. You can say it is machine foundation. We are talking is massive block. When we talk of massive block, means DC generator is a big one. Let us say 2500 kVA. This is, and there's two portion of it. The one is generator foundation, other one is alternator foundation. Generator foundation and alternator foundation, the gap in between, and alternator foundation is connected to raft of foundation, means monolithic, like monolithic means it's connected to raft, while this generator foundation, that's a massive block which is not connected to raft but placed on raft, and between raft and this massive block there is isolation system isolation, so that whatever vibrations raft gets, that must be isolated by that system which we provide in between them, in between massive block and foundation or raft. So alternator is not vibrating machine, so no problem for that, but for generator we have to isolate, or you can say we have to dampen vibrations. Vibrations are to be dampened. It's called machine. Neoprene compressed rubber, that's pads resting on fixed to steel plates which are nailed in concrete. Then around that neoprene, that's can say polystyrene material, and on that neoprene layer or membrane, and then on that is such a device that we have to place prefabricated lamina, mild steel lamina in design frame. We have to put that down onto, so that this plate is connected to you can say your RCC massive block. Complete design is there. Don't worry about that. Then the components involved are raft. Number one is given, raft. Then raft is RCC raft. Alternative foundations in thick column form is when I say thick member or thick column is dimension, minimum dimension is more than 80 centimeter, 800 mm, and its volume may be up 8 cubic meter. So components involved are raft, alternate foundation in thick column form, isolation, and means isolation between generator foundation and raft, and generator foundation on isolation on raft. Now setting out is first point, as we do in every case. Blinding, we have to see setting out and blinding is okay. Then we have to make sure reinforcement of raft is correctly fabricated and placed within. If that's the case, and if that's not the case, it depends. So we have to consider, we can take that into our consideration, that's general. So ensure that enforcement of raft is correctly fabricated and placed within layout. Ensure proper concrete covers are fixed. Ensure cathodic protection is carried out if it is required, not necessary. Ensure forms are erected rightly in plan to alignment. After steel is alternator foundation of you know ensure steel plate. That's now question is that we say ensure alternative foundation rebars are placed in correct position, and pouring concrete, etc. we will do on that. Now point is on this raft about foundation for foundation on this raft can arrange for alternate isolation. I mean say this compressor massive block resting on isolation. Now ensure steel plate mounted neoprene pads, as I explained before. Neoprene pads mounted on steel plates are fixed to raft using steel made concrete nails. These nails must be the proper fixing of plates to concrete. Now check that polystyrene rolls are spread on areas of raft but pads, so that prefabricated plates rest on polystyrene, means only in those portions where neoprene pads are located. You have to cut out this roll, and this roll is laid directly on that. This flexible roll, not the one. This is you can say just for that purpose this roll of polystyrene comes. Provide a rubber sheath on whole system, that is also to cover whole the system. Now we have fabricated plate on system, we have done it, we provided that lamina and framing on that is rolled steel angular framing according to design with hooks and added, and we use crane to lift that frame, then put on that. Now before that, fabrication of steel laminar frame, we have to talk what is that. It is, it says check defined gauge. There should be some gauge defined, what gauge that sheet should be. We have to define, we have to check that, we have to make sure it's right. Then we have to check sections, we have to check sections of roll steel to be included for frame fabrication, as such angles or whatever is given. We have to check roll steel to be included for frame fabrication, and proper setting out of lines for rolled steel sections and drawing is given. We have to follow that drawing. Ensure proper marking on plate for welding. It's not means we have to mark on those lines which we make for frame angles. Proper welding points also here welding is done. And ensure welding operation is rightly carried out. Ensure provisions of lifting hooks and their locations. This plate should be placed such that lamina faces down and RS upwards to allow grip to upper concrete foundation. There's rolled steel framing. Rolled steel framing faces upwards and concrete is connected to this. This plate should be placed such a way such that lamina faces down on the upper surface, the upper layer abuts this, and it's exposed RS goes into concrete of generator foundation and generator base. Now RCC works of generator foundation, we have to see, that's very important point here. RCC work of generator foundation. Now we have to make sure that's okay. We have to make sure reinforcement of generator block is placed in right locations. Make sure reinforcement of generator block is placed in right locations in form of multi-layer meshes. And to ensure that multi-layer basis, it says meshes, is there are so many layers in design, means all reinforcement in this, whatever we say is spread around volume of base, because it is machine foundation and there can be no place left within volume itself where steel is not available. And because it is massive block, here all properties are considered, all calculations are done, and main calculation is that mitigation of or dampening of vibrations or dampening of horizontal forces or three-dimensional or rocking, you can say, dampening of rocking of foundation which is moved or which is vibrated because of application of vibrations by generator. This must be dampened gradually, and for that purpose we have this massive block, and massive block is there means we cannot construct massive block without nominal reinforcement, which could be 50 to 75 kilogram or more, say 75 kilogram per cubic meter. In this range it could be. That point we have researched. So design is different. I'm not talking design part here. I'm just talking how to do it. So whatever section is given in drawings, we are talking of construction. So we have to make sure reinforcement of generator block is placed in right locations in form of multi-layer meshes, and bars are placed in line with design details whatsoever given on drawings. Now make sure that vertical forms are erected on all sides of massive block. And also there are good fixing arrangements. We have to make sure good fixing arrangements of these sides, because these would be prone to opening or bulging later, depth being more than 2 meters or around maybe 1.75 to 2 meters. Depth is quite big, quite considerable in this case. Make sure they are good fixing arrangement, and make sure concrete covers are fixed correctly. Always it is to be made sure. And top alignment and plumb, we have to, this is very much common in every concrete element. Alignment must be accordingly given. Whatever is bottom alignment, that should be top. And we have to make sure by plumbs and by lines and jacks setting out for anchor bolts, anchor bolts locations for blockouts. Now anchor bolts, if you have to fix, we have that, we can fix it directly, but if you don't have, then we must be given sizes of pockets or openings in voids. I can say whatever is given we have to fix on. I can say are at least, if suppose they are pockets, then we must have some arrangements. We must some pockets, shutters should prepare by timber, using timber wood, and we fix those voids or pockets in locations, so that these remain embedded in concrete. So make sure they are both fixing arrangements, and that's make sure concrete covers are placed clearly, and top alignment and setting out anchor bolts, location of blockouts, untruncated form of made fix. These blockouts are fixed in position and are truly vertical. Make sure about cathodic protection if required. In case of cathodic protection, continuity test shall be conducted. Activity of pouring in concrete, then you have to go. Now this is a machine foundation. I think it's not worried about, don't worry about mechanical details, there's no such. And also electrical details, there's such in that. Nobody is going to say this is a foundation. Then we have an alternative foundation works and follow operations as required for column, with addition of provisions of pockets for block out. So we learned about how foundation, or you can say footing, or you can say massive block of generator foundation, generator basis done. Now we'll talk of concrete later on. We have this, I discussed with you this machine foundation. Actually this looks very simple, but it's not very simple while doing on site, because still fixing or placing still is a little complicated, and you have to fix it in given rings or whatever shape. Now how to do it on site is, it's not one job. You engage 4 or 3 shell fixers for this, and you have a pretty equal number of former carpenters with that. Also we have also money. That's simple, right? Whatever you do should be very, very professional, should be done specifically for that, and should be done in a way that we don't have to attack. We have to attack whatever. Now I go to other item after this. This reinforcement work, because reinforcement is very complicated, and how to arrange placing, that is very important point. You have to think of which bar goes first and which bar follows that bar, so that all are in according to requirements. No other action is required in that case. If you follow up, if you stand yourself and direct everybody, means first priority, first sequence is controls, and that's rings, or big rings on the foundation. And once you arrange rings and longitudinal bars, I think it becomes interesting if you start from bottom or start from top together. Starting point is better. It takes some time to do that work physically. Now, checklist for RCC fair face structural works. This foundation I explained before about machine foundation. It's a very important point. If people have to understand machine foundation, that's machine foundation, vibratory foundation. It's voluminous, of course. You have to understand differently when you talk of its pouring system. Now we are not taking into our consideration pouring, but just preparatory works. Preparatory works are very, very important. You can do this pour, or you can do that other preparatory works for other pour, where machines are involved. Triangular doesn't behave accordingly. We go further for fair face structural works. Now, fair face structure work is maybe I'm not sure you people are aware of such activity, such requirement. It's very important one. It's very much attentive. It attend this work long. See. We say fair face does not require any plastering on formed surfaces. That point you have to understand. When you say fair face means no plaster or no rendering on that. Direct application of finishes or decoration. In this sense, when there is no contour face, so fair face is very important activity. We have to understand that point. No ordinary form work will work on that. There should be perfect form work, and there's perfect pouring in that. All items should be made for various vertical members as described earlier. We have to erect all items, all steel work. Quality of plywood to be used does not degrade. Means you must have fresh or used once or twice. you can say, well, let's see what is talking. Is that, let me see, is that it is, we can say here, we can set, we call back later. Now we are talking about that is fair face concrete. Now check for all items required should be made for various vertical members as described earlier. Quality of plywood does not degrade. We have to make such plywood which is, you can say, marine plywood, and so that's not commercial one, but waterproof plywood should be used for that. Ensure that no more than 3 or 4 uses are made out of new marine plywood. Ensure that plywood thickness is minimum 18 mm or more, it is no 12 mm, and make sure pattern of form lies intact as required. The ties are provided at design locations. Ties, wall ties, steel bolts, and say. Then plastic conduits are medium to heavy duty. Bolts should use what else? We have to make sure the pattern of form ply is intact as required, so that it may not be visible awkward. We want to see some symmetry. Continuation. Ensure the ties are provided at design locations. Plastic conduits are medium to heavy duty, which do not twist, and plumb does not exist. Uniform. Then say that point we have to take into consideration, that ties are provided at design location. Plastic conduits are medium to heavy duty, which do not twist at all, and plumb does not exceed out of line by 1 millimeter in 100 centimeter, actually, not millimeter. So 1 millimeter in 100 centimeter. 1 meter you can say. Ensure that plumb does not exceed out of limit and no opening of sides is allowed in fair face work. And then we can say no unrequired joints are allowed. Unrequired joints. Make sure all supports are well anchored. Make proper concreting pouring arrangements during concreting. All yes. Point that whatever we explained should be erected on site. That is very important point. No coordination in this with services. Plain work and easy work. Let's move forward. Let's move forward to grip off. Let's move forward to you know though you can see that no opening of sides is allowed in fairface work. All it you can start. This work is done. Alright. Now we have to see checklist for RCC architectural finish works. Architectural finish means a selected a texture to be embossed on concrete vertical surface. Architectural finish means a selected texture and external concrete. Let us do first. Architectural finish work, which is an important item on elevations. Check for architectural finish means a selected texture to be embedded on concrete. Okay, so we can continue like this, architectural finish work, plastic and some medium. No, we have to say check for all items should be made for various vertical members, and as described earlier, ensure good quality of timber planks of required length, width and thickness are procured. Ensure edges of planks are straight for joint formations without any cavity opening. Arrange for approved texture by arranging planks on a standard size of panel of wall. Decide locations of tie arrangements. Decide for support locations. Check that arrangements of texture is symmetrical on both sides of wall. Ensure that ties are provided at designed locations. Ensure that plastic conduits are medium heavy duty, which do not twist. Ensure that plumb does not exceed out of line by 1 mm in 1 meter. No opening of sides is allowed in fair face form. No unrequired joints are allowed. Make sure all supports are well anchored, and you can say yeah. Then you can say what to do. Starts part. Now let's repeat this. It's important one so that it's clear. Then we'll cover one next one. Then uh, check for all items. Check for all items that is should be made for various vertical members. That's very important on concrete. Verticals. Now check for all items should be made for various vertical members as described earlier. Then ensure good quality of timber planks of required length, width, and thickness are procured. Ensure edges of planks. When I'm talking about planks, I'm not talking about ply. Here's the difference. We are using timber planks, new planks, and we are butting these. We ensure planks, edge of planks are straight for joint formations without any cavity opening. So this is not, we have to work on planks itself. It's a very important part in this because plank surface is going to give texture finish. That's is an important one. Plank, do you know what's plank? Or you don't know, that's you have to see small regular size timber pieces, probably 1 inch thick, 2 to 5 mm thick, and these planks are used with good plant surface, edges, plant edges, and you can say straight for joint formation without any cavity opening. There is no cavity allowed, though it's surface work, and this is architectural finish work. Ensure edges of planks are straight and for joint formations without any carrying openings. Then arrange for approved texture. Approved texture. You can say by arranging planks on standard size of panel of wall. Decide locations of tie arrangements. This should also be This is securing snow. What we say, these should be well secured, in line, in plumb, and whatever surface of length we have to give, and the shaker should be seen. Yes. Ensure the plumb doesn't exceed out of line by 1 millimeter in this, no opening of sides allowed, if fairface forms, non-required joints are allowed. Make sure all supports are well anchored, make proper concreting pouring arrangements. During concreting, no voids or honeycombings are acceptable. RCC hoodie slabs. RCC hoodie slabs works. RCC hoodie slab works. Hoodie precast concrete trapezoidal blocks are used at low spacings. You can see that this is what I say. Checklist of RCC hoodie slab works item number 20. Hoodie precast concrete trapezoidal blocks are used at low spacing. Check for all items should be made for various vertical members as described earlier. Ensure good quality hoodie blocks of defined dimensions are procured. Ensure cut size blocks, cut size blocks to suit site are procured. Ensure slab form is fixed on scaffolding system. Ensure slab forms are fixed on scaffolding system as usual. Ensure whole slab area is in one level without beams form works. Check setting out of beams in both directions. Then check hoodie block works are carried out correctly on lines. Check vertical space availability for receiving thin slab casing in situ concrete. Check rebars for beams are placed correctly. Check rebars for slabs are placed correctly. Check all services embeds that run through beams as well as through hoodie block void cavities. Be careful for hoodie slab works as coordination of services work is a little bit cumbersome and complicated activity. It is to be noted that slab is too thin, say about 60 mm, and therefore services embeds may not find any room through or within slab portion, and that is very important point. I repeat this is hoodie slab works, which is, there is hoodie block, you can say, where higher is like trapezium section, section is like trapezium but hollow. I know higher dimension of trapezium is upwards and lower side is downward. It's like that. Cavities are in, and this are placed in such a way that cavities are used for purpose of taking services, passing services, running services within that. Electrical conduits pass through these cavities, and the structure is such that between two blocks concrete is done. Very, you can say, like, teeth concrete, you may say it's like teeth concrete, and this is structure teeth concrete, and above that there is thin slab of concrete wherein you place very small, very single layer of bars. You can place in, maybe it is, diaphragm type we have to produce, like diaphragm, its whole concrete is going to diaphragm, but provision of services. We have to design its proper design is done in plan how this hoodie would work. Means this layer, like, because surface exposed surface below is plain. You do not need any downstand shutters or something in this. Just plain surface is seen, and form work is therefore very easy. Means scaffolding system is very easy. You just plain form and put your hoodie blocks in your design fashion in such a way that you do concrete of these blocks along and these blocks remain in position forever. You cannot take them out. These are, you can say, kind of slab. These blocks are having voids in cavities of blocks, which are used for purpose of whatever services you provide. And once it is done, you can say this whole system is cost. And arrangement still is in such a way that it acts like structural slab. Again I read OD precast concrete trapezoid blocks are used at low spacing. Checks for all items should be made for various vertical members. As described earlier, then good quality earthy blocks of the fine dimensions are procured. Ensure cut size blocks to suit site are procured. Slab form is fixed on scaffolding system as usual. Whole slab area is in one level without beams form works. Check setting out of beams in both directions. Hoodie block works are carried out correctly on lines. Vertical space availability for receiving thin slab cast in situ concrete. Rebars for beams are placed correctly. Rebars for slabs are placed correctly. Check all services. Embeds that run through beams as well as through hoodie block void cavities. Be careful for hoodie slab works, as coordination of services works is little bit cumbersome and complicated activity. This we noted that slab is too thin, say about 60 mm, and therefore services embeds may not find any room for go through or within slab portion. We get to RCC sloping portion, floor slab works. RCC sloping portion means scarp, you can say. Generally it is used for stair covers in buildings. Stair cover is rarely horizontal. It's used for capping so that building looks having small cap. We don't want anything on stair cover, so it's done that way for purpose of architectural decoration of structures. So check all operations would be done as defined within other operations of grade slabs. Means same thing. Whatever sections are shown would have been provided accordingly. Shown means on drawing I'm talking. Ensure that sloping portion is rightly carried out to specifications. For slope exceeding 30 degrees to 45 degrees, special formwork requirement is made, because 30 to 45 means it's not possible to, can say, do within this range of 30 to 45. You need some kind of cover formwork, What I'm saying is that top form work are provided in addition to bottom one in this range of 30 to 45 degrees. Special form work requirement is constructed. Ensure that top forms are provided and would not move from its position during pouring. Let's ensure that these forms do have square shaped openings. That's very important point on top that forms do have square shaped openings at suitable spacing in both directions. Of sloping surface forms, these openings should cover whole area of slope to avoid honeycombing, any level of honeycombing or any voids in hardened concrete. Means these holes shall be used for purpose of pouring. You pour this and then vibrate. We cannot leave natural work, it should be formed work. Means where forms, automatically it will shape and portion of this is by holes, pouring this by holes. So openings should cover whole area of slope to avoid honeycombing or any voids in hardened concrete. We have to ensure that sloping form is strong enough to be accessed and working. Sloping form work to be strong enough to be accessed and working. Check these openings to allow cleaning and concreting pouring operations easily. Make sure that vibrator would be applicable easily. Make sure that slope would be cast monolithic with upper and lower flat concrete. Make sure that curing would be conveniently effected. That's an important point here. Because generally there is a slab, inclined one, and also around, there's a little wing on bottom which is completely horizontal. So we have to take care of that. That's not only slab inclined portion is to be covered, is to be formed with holes. So now again checklist is for suspended slab work. That is for RCC heavy compressor foundation works. Now, which is very important item, that is checklist for RCC heavy compressor foundation works. RCC heavy compressor foundation. You must know what is foundation here. It's not foundation alone, it's tabletop. I am talking when we say heavy compressor foundation works. Now, may apply to cracked gas, propane, ethane, etc. Gas compressors formulations to be installed within process areas of plants. Dimensions of formulations could be 25 meter long, 25 meters long, not 1 meter long, 25 meter long into 8 to 10 meter wide and 2 meters deep. You can imagine 25 into 10 to 50 into 500. It could be 500 or you may say 400 to 500 cubic meter concrete. 400 to 500 cubic meter concrete in one foundation. Think of it is foundation on sands or foundations wherever. It is very big firm foundation and it's called massive block foundation. Massive block. Massive block means not mass block, not mass block, massive block. Structural foundation of immense size of one foundation. And this is 25 into 8 to 10 meters into 2 meters RCC foundation. We are going to talk of that. You think of what we are talking, you may say it's bigger than raft. It is like a raft, but thickness is too high. And it is machine foundation. We are talking of it is compressor is a machine, vibratory machine, and they are talking of that. Very, very important item. We have to be very, strong in understanding this. Just think in mind, 25 meters into 10 meters to 2 meters means it's something new for freshers to do such component. Ensure, now again I say excavation has been done. I'm not talking of excavation. Think of, it's not part of excavation here. I'm just talking of quality. Excavation has been over. Formation level is achieved by required fill or otherwise. Formation level. Now that is what is achieved by required fill or otherwise. Formation level is duly tested and approved. Precaution required for such area for ingress and egress and other safety measures are adopted. Blinding is well laid and concrete protection applied accordingly, which is very repetitive item. Now, shop fabricated rebars. Of course, you can fabricate wherever you wish, but generally a shop or yard, fabrication yards of rebars, we get ensure shop fabricated rebars, of course. Uncoated are received for installation. Uncoated because this is cathodic protection area. Ensure that these cut and bent bars are rigidly tagged. These cut and bent bars are rigidly tagged. Check about on-site fabrication of forms smoothly going on for vertical sides. Form for vertical sides because this is foundation. Check about on-site fabrication of forms smoothly going on for vertical sides. Now, vacuum test is conducted for concrete protection membrane applied. Before that, actually, we should start forward. After that, let us see on the blinding where protection membrane is ongoing. We have to do certain tests, and sometimes we can say vacuum test is to be conducted on those just to see that this is well placed and well corrected. That's what they say. Now, if it is proprietary form, it's not your own form, it should be complied with manufacturer's drawings. If manufacturer is given, you do accordingly. Check that making is made on prepared foundations for location of rebars. Now, check that marking is made on prepared foundation for location of rebars, because we have to fix rebars now after your protection of membrane is done. That waterproof membrane is protected well. Then you have to start reinforcement bars placement. For that, marking is done, spacing of rings as well as spacing of bars, main bars. Both axes be taken care of and marking is done. Now delivered rebars are placed properly, which you have fabricated rebars in both directions. Delivered rebars are placed properly using required strong chairs of considerable size rebars, say 25 mm. And we have to, of course, in both directions work. If rings are there, big rings, we have to take care of rings. If other parts are there, take care. And using required strong chairs, we have to, big chairs you must have, because this height is 2 meters. So we have to be careful about that. It is very heavy foundation. Because of size, we have to make very strong chairs and do it so that upper bars can be placed on that chair, and in between also, which you have to do it. Then considerable size of rebars is 25 mm. Then we can say ensure that delivered rebars are placed properly using required strong chairs of considerable size. Rebars is 25 mm. Ensure that heavy columns or walls, if so designed, heavy columns or walls, if so designed, are well placed intact into foundation portion. We say walls or column, let's say columns, so walls could be for superstructure, tabletop, some vertical members would be there. This will be walls or columns or both. If design are well placed into foundation portion, because these bars shall go to bottom of this foundation. Now you have to mind that these bars are always heavy as well. Sometimes bending off these bars is not permitted. Yes, it's not permitted. It requires special positioning of these bars, which are given on drawings. Otherwise, you can decide yourself. Upper bars should be in exact position, while lower bars can be moved, lower bars. Since heavy quantity of rebars are required for such foundations, heavy, deeper chairs are required at various locations, depending on expected working loads. Now, ensure that workers do work safely within space available. Workers have to go down, they have to work in this trench, or in this case, they have to work, they have to stand. Workers do work safely within space available. Check fabricated forms are in compliance. See, now we are talking of forms. Fabricated shutters of forms are in compliance with dimensions of foundation. Ensure that forms are erected in sequence and well supported. Ensure sequential panel edges are well secured, because it is 25 meters, so your ply vertically used could be 1.24 to 5 meters, one ply in standing position, and this means 25 meters there. So if you divide by 1.25, it's 25 to 20 plies. I think 20 plies may be there, whatever 20 or whatever number, then this should be in sequential. Panel edges are well secured. ensure that you have to connect these plyboards panels in such a way that all are consumed there or used there. This is very strong. You cannot say simply. Means these have to. You must have some backing to for the supports. This is very important point. Means you could join by horizontal members some 2 or 3 bars together. I'm not saying bars but form bars. Connect them like that. Ensure concrete panels are well secured. Ensure access to inside of forms being safe. Access from inside bars. Right. Then cover panels are well secured and access to inside of form being safe. Alignment and plumb for forms is to be seen and approved. Ensure alignment and plumb for forms. Ensure inclined supports are fixed to necessary requirements. Ensure concrete spacers are installed to meet rebar requirement. Ensure that sacrificial anodes, which is now cathodic protection, sacrificial anodes are arranged and their interface connections to foundation rebars are tied up using galvanized wires or cables clamped in with stainless steel or SSC clamps. These are clamps, C clamps, which are made of stainless steel probably, and galvanized wires pass through every rebar. So statement is ensure that sacrificial anodes are arranged and their interface connections to foundation rebars. Means it is completely wrap up of all bars, you can say, and not only one location, many locations depending on design. But sacrificial anodes are arranged and their interface connections to foundation rebars are tied up using galvanized wires or cables clamped with stainless steel C clamps. And ensure that sacrificial anodes sacrificial anodes to be inserted is duly validated. This anode which is inserted in as well as on some surface of column inside, as its connections are done in down on steel, and then super control on somewhere fix this on some bars and some place which is connects between touching shutters. So ensure that sacrificial anodes be inserted down is duly welded, and inspector goes down, make sure that welding is fine, there's enough space, access to go down from top bottom. That space you have to keep in until inspection is done. Inspection of this anode has to be done by going to lower reinforcement mesh. Whoever is quality inspector must go there. Ensure electrical continuity test is conducted properly on all rebars. Electrical continuity test is conducted. This is not electrical supply but just as a meter. You see that voltage is measured at every bar. Continuity exists because it shall be required when there's question of cathodic protection working. Therefore, cathodic protection is working, will make sure by continuity check and plan for pouring method that has to be approved. That's very important one. Pouring method. It's a simple word. Method statement, you can say. Pouring method statement, which is very important point in this case. Pouring method statement, which is very much needed because this is massive pour and it's wonderful pour, you can say. It's wonderful because it's professional pour. It's not ordinary pour. It's massive pour with, you can say, there is chances of thermal, differential thermal heat generation, which must be understood well. So you have a plan for pouring method that has to be approved, and means you have to show in that plan where is your pour, what is access, where do you want to park your pump at one or two or three locations. One pump is enough or two pumps are enough, or what is the situation of your transfer mixer. We have to keep that in mind. We are doing something indifferent. Then you can say plan for concrete ordering sequence. Concrete ordering sequence, and plan for pouring working hours. Then curing arrangements, workers deployment, stepping management of pouring. Stepping management for pouring, stepping, pouring in steps, not in complete layer. You have to pour, sequences. You have to pour parallel to width. Parallel to width is 8 or 10 meters, but you have to plan in narrow sections, such as 40 centimeter wide or 45 centimeter wide maximum, or you just keep whole 1 meter layer under control, but you cannot pour 1 meter. Pouring is different. So stepping management of pouring, you can say, let us say 50 centimeter width of portion we pour, and then we go back to other layer and pour half, and go down other layer, we pour whole. Now you have to find, after this plan of split stepping, you have to think for thermal controls, and then working axis on top area you have to control, because big pour it is and many people will stand there with vibrators, and of course they will pull concrete too, it's not admissible, but then you can say working areas on top, and also for think twice. Okay, you move forward now. The thing still really working. Okay, there's no cutoff till now. So what we say that ensure this, we have to do curing arrangements, and then we have to this stopping management and thermal controls. That's very important part for working access onto site, onto top area. Plan for a standby construction joint homework or stop arrangement to meet an emergency requirement. This mass concrete, now let us take 2 meters depth and we pour 40 centimeter each layer. In that case, you can say 5 layers are there. If you keep 30 centimeter, then there are 6-7 layers. What we have to do means it's 50 meter long, means it's not, you know. Now, while doing concreting, we have to take care in concrete explanation. Here you are talking of preparatory work, so we will not move further. When we take up concrete procedure, we will talk in that. This is only for preparatory work. We have to understand this point. Checklist for RCC tabletop column works is the same, but upper story, upper floor, upper work. We talked of foundation till now. Now we are going to talk of upper superstructure, you can say. Otherwise, it's part of concrete foundation itself, which is very important element in this checklist for RCC tabletop columns works. Tabletop columns, thick members, means more than 80 centimeters size. Amount if it's done, control conditions are done, last concrete, can they, this column works can start. That's where our point lies in very well. This work of tabletop curing for foundation concrete is accomplished. After that, we can start this. We'll see how that curing is done when we take off concrete issue. Construction joint is gavelled properly. This those two bit covers. How can you fix them? This wire was there. That's why there is concrete. So we're going to now you can say important point, thick column. You can say ensure setting out again. First you have to construct, to make up construction joint by scabbling. Then locations are correct. You make sure and column reinforcement is placed correctly in drawings according to details. You can say sacrificial anode are fixed to required level, to required level only, where height of wall and god is generally 8 to 10 meter height. So we move into this way properly, and we can then find, you see here also tanked GI steel plates, tanked, We ensure tanked GI steel plates inserts are available, duly fabricated from workshop. Check proper holes. Check proper holes are available for fixing by fastening to form using bolts. Ensure all form sides are fixed. After that, you can say Ensure all foam sides are fixed with inserts properly inspected. Make sure that tanks of plates should be embedded in concrete. Make sure that tanks of plates should be embedded in concrete and that all sides of forms are erected after rebar inspections. Now closure of forms and carry out all column form operations. Check out concrete pouring levels. Check form supporting arrangements. Make sure a temporary platform is available for casting, of course supported on scaffolding, and make sure temporary platform is available for casting. Suggested pour in full height if feasible. 2 stages of pour can also be allowed depending on column height limits. This is, we are talking a part of table top. These are main columns, thick columns, and walls as well. If designed, on these columns shall rest one thick slab, thick design size slab, depending on what sort of materials are there. This thick slab. Now we have to think of. Thinking is very much part of this type of work. Okay, concrete will pour, that's not big deal. We'll see how to do that. We are talking about something which is very important item where huge concrete meters and areas. Alright, do it now. It's already, no, it's going on well. Let's see. Few minutes more. Few minutes more to talk. Few minutes more only. You can say 2 hours. Okay, few minutes more to talk. It's better in interest of work. We were talking of column works, tabletop column works. Heavy structure, thick element, and massive block element. Work is heavy and accurate, can't, no tolerance. You must understand that point. Not difficult, of course, good work. We have to understand what is heavy work. We have to understand what sort of concrete we do. That will do, and we do concreting, and this is still property works there. Property works is load, right? And